Hi, hello. It is Josh Bowe for Pod Maverick. This is Pod Maverick After Dark. I am one of the editors at MavsMoneyBall.com, helping run the site with Kirk Henderson. As you can already guess, since I am starting off the podcast, Kirk is not here. If you're watching live or watching on YouTube, you can clearly see that Kirk is not here. He needed a night off, and considering the Mavericks gave Kyrie Irving a night off for the most part tonight, Kirk's been putting in the minutes as well. He needed a night off on the podcast, but you can read Kirk at MavsMoneyBall.com because he did the recap for this game. I'm joined by fellow Mavs Moneyball staffer Sudarshan. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, it's not the greatest start to the weekend, but yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, and if Mavs fans, if you're wondering why did I watch this game, why did I? If you're local here in either Texas or the United States, and you're like, why did I stay up watching this game? You know, it's kind of a scheduled loss as soon as Kyrie was announced he wasn't going to play. Sudarshan had to wake up for this game on the other side of the world from the United States. It's the morning for him, so everyone give him some props for he's going to write the grades post for MavsMoneyBall.com. He woke up early. He's dedicated, so I appreciate it. You joining me also to talk about the game.
No, it was good. I mean, yeah, it was a scheduled L, like you were saying, but there were some fun talking points. I guess we can
Yeah.
that we can take away from that and sort of jump into, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. So first off, just to get the obvious out of the way, if you weren't paying too much attention, Mavericks did lose 134 to 122 at home to the Cleveland Cavaliers. This is the Mavericks' fourth loss in a row. They are now 20-15. Of the four losses, though, this one is by far the least shameful, although none of them have really been all that shameful. I mean, when you're missing Luka Doncic every game is going to be a struggle, despite how good this roster can be at times.
And two
Cleveland
without
has,
Kyrie as well.
yeah, no Kyrie as well, who was announced as a fairly late scratch, a few hours, like I think an hour or so before the game started, with an illness, which, considering that's kept out some Mavericks for a few games, including, Najee Marshall, most notably, could be legitimate. Like he could have legitimately wanted to play and not play, but it just kind of smelled like the Mavericks figured that this was going to be a loss with or without Kyrie, so they might as well give him a break. That's kind of the way I saw it, but he might not have been able to legitimately actually get on the court tonight, knowing somehow some of the illness has affected the Mavericks this year. And Cleveland is 30-4. They're the best team in the NBA, and not only do they have the best record in the NBA, their metrics are off the charts. Their point differential is like the fourth best since the modern era started with the 3-point line, or maybe even before that, since like the 70s. They've got like the fourth best point differential. Their numbers are off the charts. They're kicking everyone's asses. They have the best record in the NBA, and I think they have the best offense as well. So with the Mavericks so shorthanded, no Luka, no Kyrie, no Najee Marshall, there wasn't, in terms of this wasn't going to be a win, but like you said, there were still some. I think the testament to this game, and this doesn't really matter to the win-loss records or maybe how fans feel about like you losing a game. They at least made it somewhat interesting, and they made it competitive. And it wasn't, and it was a blowout, and it was a double-digit lead for most of the game, but they had some spurts where they at least kept it close,
They
right?
they scored 122 points without Luka and Kyrie. That is more impressive than anything.
They scored 122 points without Luka and Kyrie, and they shot 43% from the floor. They didn't actually shoot. They shot terribly from three, but they dominated the glass. They had 21 offensive rebounds. I haven't looked that up, but I got to think that's the most
I mean,
offensive rebounds.
it didn't seem that way with Evan Mobley completely dominating us on the other side, but I mean, yeah, and it wasn't really Lively and Gafford just sort of eating it up on lobs or anything like that. It just felt like they had a straight line to the hoop whenever they wanted it.
Yeah. Lively and Gafford did a pretty good job considering the Cavs have Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, who both might be all-stars this year. I don't know. I mean, Allen was an all-star. This will definitely be Mobley's first all-star appearance. He's been absolutely dominant this season.
He was a beast.
I know, 34, 10, and 4 assists, 2 blocks. He hit 3 threes. Like that's like the thing that's unfair. Like it was always about can this guy hit threes? And now he's hitting them because he's really got everything else in his bag. And if he can hit spot up threes, I mean, he's such a complete player. But the Mavericks
Hmm.
have 20 second chance points. If there's one Achilles heel of this Cleveland team, it's that they can get kind of bullied on the glass a little bit. If you remember their playoff series loss against the Knicks 2 years ago, Allen got, really dominated on the glass. Like,
Right.
Mobley is a tremendous player and he had 10 rebounds himself. So, and Allen still had 9, but they're kind of a weird team. Like they play 2 small guards and their forwards aren't super big. And they really put all of their rebounding kind of onto Mobley and Allen. And Mobley is a pretty slight player despite being a great athlete. So
Right.
you could bully ball them a little bit, like Dean Wade, Garland, Mitchell, Georges Yang, Karis LeVert. Like they don't play a bunch of big forwards. Max Strus is not huge. So that's the opportunity, and the Mavericks took advantage, but unfortunately, they could not make any shots. They shot 43% from the floor. They shot
27 from 3.
12 of 44 from 3, and so many of their threes were just like, I don't know, like we don't know what to do because we don't have Luka or Kyrie. Let's just
Yeah.
shoot a 3, right?
Yeah. I also think the rebounding metrics are a little skewed because the Cavs played like super small towards
They
the end of the
really
third
did.
quarter.
Mhm.
They played without Mobley or Allen. They played, I think, what was it? Niang, Wade, uh, Mitchell, Karis LeVert, and one other guy. I'm missing on that one. It's while the Mavericks played either Gafford or Lively. That's when
Mhm.
Grimes went on his like absolute heater. So yeah, I mean, I don't think that's much to look at in terms of winning the rebounding battle. It's just that the Mavs took the opportunity that they were given. That's it.
Yeah, for sure. It did feel like at times Cleveland was treating this almost like a preseason game. Like just
Yeah.
their disposition, like they were trying stuff. Like you said, they tried that lineup with none of their big men. Like I wonder if
Hmm.
they were just like, we can get away with it tonight. Let's try some different things. But what's the first? I mean, what's the first thing you want to talk about in terms of something happy to take away? Because there's not a lot of happy that happened in this game, and the Mavericks are on a 4-game losing streak. But we got to find something because we can't just
I,
be all rain clouds during this
yeah,
losing streak. So you
I
you talked
think
about earlier in the intro. What jumped out to you in terms of you're like, I can take something good away from
I
this.
think we already knew this. It's not something that's completely new, but Quentin Grimes is a real positive to take away from this game. I think he's quickly establishing himself as a fan favorite because whenever he comes, he plays with energy. He plays to quote Harp, he plays with force, I guess.
Mm,
And that the end of the third quarter to the beginning of the fourth quarter, where he just went on like a personal, or rather, I think he scored 20 points in the third quarter or something like that,
right,
right?
he did score. He scored 20 in the third quarter.
So, I mean, it seemed like um, there is always someone to sort of step up in that sense, which is what we've talked about with the depth of this team. Uh, Unfortunately, I mean, we need one of Luca or Kyrie to actually be there for it to actually matter. But Quentin Grimes was fantastic in this game. Can't really
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
like
20, yeah, like you said, 20 points in the third quarter. Uh I've been impressed. I think the thing with Grimes is, we both knew, and I think the Mavs Moneyball staff we talked about in the offseason, I think everyone on our staff was excited about his acquisition. Um, but I feel like we all kind of knew, okay, defense and threes, prototypical 3-and-D guard, can spot up, can get them up quickly, can get them up in a hurry, high volume 3-point shooter, and a plus defensive player from the guard spot. The thing that's really surprised me about him is kind of how more well-rounded his offensive game is. I mean, he had 7
yeah,
free throw attempts tonight. He scored his 26 points. He only
he
made
was
one
one of
three.
five from three.
Right. He got to the rim a bunch.
Yeah,
He had 6 assists and 2 turnovers. Like he's averaging about 2 assists per game on the season.
Yeah.
And in the last few games without Luka, 6 assists tonight, three against Houston, Sacramento, Portland. Like he's been hovering around 3 to 4 assists a game for about the last 2 weeks. And he gets to the bucket a little bit more than I thought he would, and he passes pretty well too. I mean, he definitely has some turnovers where you're like, whoa, like what's going on? But he makes some plays too. Like, are you surprised about kind of his game, like, and how much it's kind of it feels like it's expanding here? But I'll be honest, I didn't watch a ton of Quentin Grimes when he was in New York and a little bit in Detroit, so maybe it was there all along and I didn't know, but it just feels surprising to me.
No, I agree with you. I think I don't think anyone seriously watched him too much in New York or in Detroit. And coming into the season, it's like you said, we all thought he was going to be a 3-and-D guy. Catch and shoot threes primarily, play hard defense. That's his game. But I mean, what the entire injury situation that we've had is sort of opened up our eyes, I guess, to his playmaking, which is fantastic. I mean, he's not a lead ball handler, so
Right.
I get why Kid doesn't start him in games that either Luka or Kyrie is missing in the second guard spot, because he likes that second ball handler and he likes Luka or Kyrie to play off of him, which is why Dinwiddie starts in this case. But I think Grimes is definitely more potential than Spencer, particularly on both ends. So to see him in a game like this where his shot wasn't really falling, but he made the effort as such. And 7-on-7 for free throws, man. For this Mavs team, which is ass at hitting free throws, I will take that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's great. The Mavericks, actually, that's another reason why this wasn't like a 30. The two main reasons this wasn't a like 35-point blowout was they got 21 offensive rebounds. They got to the free throw line 30 times and they made 24 of them. So they made 9 more free throws than the Cavs did. So they were pretty active around the rim, which is pretty good. And try to take advantage of Garland and Mitchell as a backcourt. Unfortunately, none of the Mavericks guards really did anything besides Grimes, except for one. And I know we pointed out Grimes. To me, the other bright spot from this game was Brandon Williams, the two-way guy. I mean, like coming off the bench in a tough spot against the best team in the NBA, and you scored 13 points on pretty decent shooting. Like, I know. I don't know how real it is, but like it was just cool. It was cool to watch. What did you think?
No, I mean, not that I've been watching Legends games too much, but I mean, while he plays in the G League, apparently he scores 28 points a game, or he's averaging 28 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Williams is a little bit older than Hardy, or he's roughly the same age as Jaden Hardy. I'm not really sure, but I think when he plays, there's a little bit more control to his game. Like Jaden Hardy,
he's 3 years older than Hardy. I just looked up.
Yeah,
keep going.
So when Jaden Hardy plays, it's like he just has one thing in his game. It's like, you know what, I'm going to score, I'm going to drive, I'm going to do. It's very Tim Hardaway Jr.-ish in some ways, but you can see that when Williams plays, there's a little. I mean, he'll push the pace, but he'll sort of keep the ball moving. It doesn't hold up too much. He's got his drives are more in control. So I think that's definitely a good thing to look at. The question is that has he supplanted Jaden Hardy's position once all things sort of settled down? And
that's a good question. Yeah, that's a tricky question because I don't even know if Jaden Hardy's spot is a real spot when everyone's healthy. Ooh. Like, it's not necessarily like, did Brandon Williams jump Jaden Hardy in the, like he might, but he might still not play when everyone's like when Luka and Kyrie are healthy and Najee's healthy. I don't know if there's any minutes for whoever Kid prefers between Williams and Hardy, and especially doubly so when Dante Exum returns.
But do you think that they've jumped Spencer?
That's a good question. I don't think so because I think Kid, not necessarily
Prefers
because
veterans.
of he prefers veterans. I mean,
Yeah.
Dinwiddie has been hot ass for I don't know these last two
But
games for sure. He was pretty bad. He did have the 30-point game against Sacramento, but he is not shooting the ball well. He's been getting to the free throw line a lot, which is a pretty good skill for a bench guard. Like you need like having someone that can come off the bench and get you like 5 free throw attempts in 25 minutes is like not bad. But he is not shooting the ball consistently. He's under 40%. Since December, he's under 35% on his threes. He gets to the line, which is pretty cool. He's not turning the ball over a ton, which I think is probably why Kid is going to keep trusting him. But the defense is bad. Like the defense has been really bad. And it's another, I was talking about this with someone on Twitter before we recorded, and it's like, you don't think about the Mavericks missing Luka and their defense suffering because of it, because obviously we've had all the talks about Luka's defense. But like, say what you will, even if you're the biggest Luka hater in terms of his defensive performance, like Luka's a big guy, and
yeah,
he's got size, and he usually knows where to be. It's usually not. I don't know where to be, and more. It's more like an effort thing when he makes his defensive lapses, not necessarily like I don't know where to be. Like he's a smart player, and usually when he usually picks where he decided he needs to be, he could be a good defender. I think we're seeing that too because Dinwiddie is. I mean, he's not a small guard, but like Luka's big, he's strong. They miss the rebounding too, and
yeah,
that positional defense is so important too. Like Luka
yeah,
being able to be like a 6'7", that they can kind of put him on different people if they need to. Like Dinwiddie kind of has to guard guards. Like I don't think we're going to see a 2 league guy supplant Spencer Dinwiddie in the rotation, but I mean, at least
true.
Williams is doing something like to make these games watchable.
Yeah, I
Is
mean
all I'll say.
it's better than watching Spencer like dribble up, hold the ball up for like 16 or 18 seconds or something like that, then chuck up an off balance three, which is, I mean, we expected a lot of that going into the game the moment they said Kyrie was out. But yeah, I think even Jason Kidd was fed up with it because it felt like and Spencer ended up playing only like 23 minutes in the game or something like that. But it felt like he was just benched for most of the game.
That's interesting. And with Kid, the thing we don't know is this a sign of things to come, or is it just part of his like motivational tact? Like, is he going to play Dinwiddie 30 minutes the next game? Like
Yeah.
we've seen Kid do that. He did that with Grimes, where he gave him the DNP in that Denver game, and then played him after that. So I don't know if this is like a legit like that we're going to change up the rotation, or more just like you don't have it
Yeah.
tonight, I'm going to sit you.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But I mean, we're being hard on Spencer. It was the
I
entire
know.
starting lineup, more or less. It's
Yeah.
not it's not anything. It's not any one person's fault. It's just that the Cavs were that awesome. Their passing is, it's chef's kiss. It's there's nothing more you can say about that.
They're really good. I mean, they outside of Allen, like they just have guys that can move the ball and pass. Like they play so many quality passers in their
Yeah,
lineup, like Garland and Mobley and Mitchell and Yang and Ty Jerome and Max Strus had 7 assists off the bench. Like,
and Karis LeVert.
yep, and they just have guys that can keep that ball moving and pinging, and even Karis LeVert, who can be a little like, kind of have blinders on, little Tim Hardaway
Yeah,
Jr. esque in terms of like, you know, holding the ball and wanting to shoot it, but like he's kind of bought into what they want to do.
yeah,
They're an impressive team, and it is kind of fun. Like the Mavericks kind of lost this game on defense more than offense, despite Kyrie and no Luka and no Najee. But yeah, I don't.
yeah.
Go ahead.
It's really funny because they were up like 21-17 with like 4 minutes left in the first quarter. And then they didn't or like 3 minutes left in the first quarter, and then they didn't score anything till like, I don't know, there was like 8 minutes left in the second, and the
20
Cavs
to
went on like a 20-0 run.
yeah, that was the game.
That was the
Because
game.
they never really pushed the lead bigger than that from that run, but they also never really cut, like, the game stayed around that margin till pretty
Yeah.
much the end. Yeah, if you don't give up maybe they have a chance if you don't give up a 20-0 run, but I don't know what else you're supposed to do. Like, I saw some comments saying, like, try some different stuff, like let Lively shoot more. Like, I get it, but also the Mavericks didn't really have anyone to get Lively the ball where he needed to get it.
True.
And I don't know if you're going to want to post up Lively or Gafford against Allen and Mobley, who are two pretty good defenders. I don't know if that would have worked, but I do understand the desire of, like, this is a game that, I don't know. You roll this lineup, these two lineups out, the Cavaliers probably win like 19 out of 20 of the games. So it's like,
Yeah.
considering that, I can understand the desire to, like, hey, mix it up. The offense does get stagnant, but again, they just don't have anyone that can really beat anyone off a first step. Like, you're just watching Hardy and Dinwiddie, and Clay and some of these guys that just can't beat their man off of one dribble move, which is, obviously Cleveland has at least two of those guys in Garland and Mitchell.
Yeah.
So just, yeah, it makes you watch it and you're like, because you're right. You talked about like the Dinwiddie stuff where he's holding the ball a lot, and I feel like without Luke and Kerry, like, there's a lot of let's watch one guy dribble and the other four guys just kind of stand around and watch one guy dribble, and like, you
Yeah.
don't want them doing that even when Luka and Kyrie are healthy. So like the fact that they're doing it with those guys out makes me want to be like, run plays, scheme something up, do something cool, but also this might be what you get. Like, this is just the limitations of the roster. So that's, I don't know. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that, or
I also think I think both of us at some point in the Slack, we've mentioned that this might just be a lost season in one of those situations, considering our injury luck.
yeah.
But considering our position on Derek Lively, where it seems like he's having an off year, so everyone's kind of reacting to that and saying that, or rather overreacting to that, let me put it that way, where
Mhm.
everyone feels like he's not as good as he was last season. I think everyone's just looking for hope in some sense that, he can develop, or rather this season would be about development. So if you see more than just, like a lob game or hard defense or rebounding or any one of those things, I think everyone's just hoping for that, which is why I think people are pushing this. I was pushing for like him getting like 20 shots a game and probably like running the offense through him, or something of that sort, like experimenting a little bit
Yeah.
in this game.
Yeah, I get it. The Lively discussion is really interesting because his impact metrics are still very, very good. And the team is so much better with him on the floor than without. Their defense is so much better with him on the floor. So, like, but me and Kirk have talked about it. You kind of hinted at it, and the fan base kind of like feels like this is a like a
Sophomore
letting
slump.
down expectations. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you and but he's still playing well, and the impact metrics are still really good. So like, I'm trying to figure out, like, why does it feel like this? Because I feel it too. And then you look at his numbers, just counting stats, and I know they're counting stats, but like, rookie year, he was 8.8 points per game, 6.9 rebounds, 1.4 blocks, 1.1 assists on 74% shooting, 23 and a half minutes per game. This season, he's 8.7 points per game, 7.7 rebounds, 2.6 assists, which is like really good. 1.7 blocks, 70% field goal shooting in 24 minutes a game. So he's only playing on average a half a minute more per game, when we all kind of thought in the preseason that they were going to open him up a little bit more in his second season. He's averaging about the same amount of points, rough, maybe one more rebound per game. The assists feel like a big thing. Like that's the thing. I need to write about it for the site. Like, they are trusting Lively and Gafford to do stuff with the ball a lot more than they did last season, and they kind of started doing it last season. Like, they let those guys hold the ball at the elbow and find cutters and run dribble handoffs, and they do a lot of really good stuff there. So that's like a legitimate improvement for him. But
Yeah.
yeah, everything else feels a little static, at least in terms of the counting numbers. Like, I don't know what it's going to take for him to average 30 minutes per game. I don't know if it's his body condition, not necessarily conditioning, but his kind of injury proneness, his foul trouble, that he's definitely in more foul trouble this
Yeah.
season than he was last season. He's averaging almost 3 fouls a game. Last season
That,
he was about 2.6.
that
So
might also just be the officiating.
yeah,
It's not been the post All-Star break officiating that we had last season. So
right. They are not. If they were officiating the game like they did after the All-Star break, I think it would look a lot different for maybe his minutes and his fouls. But yeah, I get it. Like, personally, I feel it when people are like it's all for some, but also he's 20,
yeah.
and development is not always the linear curve that we like to see. So I would, not worried about him at all, but I was just kind of wanted us to talk about it because it is kind of interesting when you look at his counting stats year over year.
The perfect example was actually on the other side of the court. Evan Mobley came out and he was a rock star in his rookie season. And then he wasn't really, I wouldn't say he was bad, but he wasn't great last season.
Felt
But
like he
I mean,
stagnated after his
yeah,
rookie
he
season.
stagnated, which is which really could have his improvement could have helped the Cavs last season, but I mean ultimately they did what they could. But this season he's really sort of taken off, and I mean the Cavs are better for it. So I mean that's the hope that we could have for Lively as well. Um,
Right, and this is Mobley's fourth season, and
mhm.
Lively is not even about halfway through
It's through the
his
second,
second
yeah,
season. So I think the thing is his rookie season was so good that we're
yeah.
like, and I'm guilty of this too, just hungry for more because we're like, wow, that rookie season was so good. The sky's the limit. And you just want to see it all happen so fast. And then, you got to be patient because that's just not how human beings develop in the NBA
Is
sometimes.
is it also because as Mavs fans we're starved for draft and develop players instead of just like hunting in the free agent bin all
For
the
sure.
time?
For sure. I mean, he has a chance to be the best draft, maybe like the third best draft pick since, I don't know, since Josh
Dirk and
Howard.
Luca? Oh
Yeah.
no, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So like you think about like Luca, Brunson, and Lively are the three best draft picks they've had since like 2007, I
Yeah,
guess. So yeah, for sure. For sure. You want to see that draft success story. Well,
yeah,
um, I don't know. I kind of hit on the things I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about Grimes. I wanted to talk about kind of Lively a little bit. Talk about how
right.
the game flowed with the offensive rebounds and just that kind of sort of thing. Some
Hmm.
guys didn't play. Like we talked about Dinwiddie. Like people are really mad at Maxi Kleba, and I don't even want to talk about him because I don't know what to say. It kind of feels like punching down at this
It's the
point.
same thing over and over again.
Yeah, like
It's
it is who it is.
yeah. I mean, at least in this game he took a couple of shots, although all of them were just like badly off. Like, but he did have a couple of nice drive and kicks.
He did. He had a
It's
nice
like
up. So
Yeah, it's like he's slowly, like at a glacial sort of pace, he's sort of getting himself back into the rhythm of actually playing basketball. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. It's
But
just people want him to get sent to the moon, and I get it because you just look at his numbers, and it's just like it's
yeah,
impressive that a guy can play this many minutes and like not put up any box score numbers or really points. But at the end of the day, when the team's fully right, they don't rely on him. I think it'd be different if this was 2022 or 2021, where it's like they knew Maxi was the guy to close games and they really needed him. He's not
yeah,
closing games this year if everyone's healthy. So they can wean themselves off Maxi a little bit. But
it's true. I'm surprised he's only. I mean, I know box plus minus is kind of like a false stat, but I'm surprised he was like a -6, whereas people like PJ and Lively and I mean Spencer, yes, but PJ and Lively were in like a -15 and -17
those
respectively.
the starting lineup got whooped.
Yeah.
Think some of that, Dinwiddie had a pretty bad game. PJ
Yeah.
didn't have a good game shooting the ball. So I think that made it tougher. I think the offense didn't flow very well with the starters. And then Cleveland's bench it's still pretty good, but I guess the Mavericks bench just had a little bit more success.
Yeah, Jaden Hardy being a -19 looks right though.
he's making shots finally, which is nice. But yeah, his floor game, his defense is just the decision making at time. Yeah, it's
yeah. Do you want to talk about the stretch that the Mavs are looking at for the rest of the month?
Lay it on me.
So we're traveling to Memphis next. Then there's a 4-game homestand with the Lakers, Blazers, the back-to-back games against the Nuggets. Then it's at New Orleans, then back home to OKC, then at Charlotte, back home to Minnesota, then at Oklahoma City, then back home for Boston and Washington, and then at New Orleans again.
I think I talked about this with Kirk after the last game, the loss to Houston. There are not a lot of favorable matchups in January.
We would be lucky if we went 5-8 the remaining 13 games, I think.
Yeah. The next 5-game stretch, 4 of the 5 games being Memphis, Los Angeles, and Denver. That's tough. Then you play Oklahoma City twice in like a week. Minnesota, Boston, like Minnesota, Oklahoma City, Boston. They play that 3-game stretch toward the end of January. That's brutal.
That is brutal.
And I don't think Luka probably won't be back by then either. So
no, I mean I think Luka's not back before the All-Star break.
Yeah, at that point, they're going to err on the side of caution. So yeah, I would expect him probably to be back after the All-Star break as well. But yeah, the schedule doesn't look great. I mean, you've got a Portland here, Charlotte there, New Orleans twice. I think New Orleans.
I know what. Yeah, New Orleans twice and Washington as well.
Yeah, so but it just puts the own it like they have like if they lose those games, if they lose any of those games,
they're screwed.
Yeah. They'll need to pull off a major upset because they're not going to be favored in the Memphis game, Lakers game, the Nuggets games, Oklahoma City, Minnesota, Boston. They will be the underdogs in all those games.
So I mean, effectively, we're looking at around 500 basketball by the All-Star break.
Yeah, which is all you can ask for when they're not with no Luka, I think, and with Kyrie missing as many games as he's been missing lately.
Right.
So that's all you got to hope for. If you're a Mavs fan, that's not fun. You want to hope that they can win every game, but yeah, you got to shoot for 500. If they can get through January and not be in the play-in range of the standings, I think that's a huge win for them.
So because if they're playing 500 ball in the West, they're in the play-in.
Yeah. They're right. The West is so good. You can't, if you play 500, you're going to go down in the standings. There's too many good teams. Well,
yeah.
Anything else you want to hit on? Otherwise, I was going to wrap us up, but I just wanted to kick it to you for any final outstanding thoughts. And if not, we can wrap this one up.
No, man, it is what it is. It was, like I said, I was surprised they scored 122 points against Cleveland, but yeah. For a scheduled L, this wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be. I thought the Sacramento game was worse.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, I mean, it's all good. On to the next one. We just need to get through January.
Yep, for sure. Dean in the chat says Josh looks tired. I am tired. I am super tired. And then like another thing is like, this will be my closing thought. Is I made a big deal about Kyrie playing that Portland game on the second night of a back-to-back, playing 40 minutes, and kind of how that just doesn't happen a lot now in the NBA, where guys will just sit out games so often, and made it a big deal like we should celebrate this. And then they come right around and they kind of, I don't know, maybe he really couldn't play, but then another game, and this wasn't a game they could have won, so I get it, but I would love it if stars could play games if they can play. Like if you can play, you should play. That's kind of how I see it. And the reason why I look so tired, like just getting around to why I look so tired is like I just had no juice for this game. Like I looked at it on this schedule, I saw Kyrie wasn't playing. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about for 20 minutes. Like I gotta, it's different if I just got to watch it and then the game's over. I turn off my TV and go to bed. But like we gotta get stuff on the site. We gotta talk about it. Like that takes a certain amount of energy and brain power that like is difficult when the game feels pointless. Like honestly, this felt like a waste of time. Like I could have used my time much more efficiently to get stuff done around the house, spend time with my family. Instead, and this isn't my full-time job, so that makes it even harder. But yeah, I'm getting on my soapbox, but yeah, I am tired. I will try to be less tired in the next few games, but we'll see. But having said all that, I think we should wrap it up. Sudarshan, thank you so much for joining me. Thanks again for being up in the morning and watching this game. And I know you said you're going to do the grades posts, so I appreciate it. It was fun to talk to you, and I had fun having you on. And we need to get you on the show more often. So thank you, man.
Yeah, no, it was fun. Thanks for having me.
Yep. All right, guys. This is Pod Maverick After Dark. Please like and subscribe. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you can. I believe Kirk and myself will be back for the next game against Memphis on Monday. Go check MavsMoneyBell.com for all your post-game content. We should have a lot of good stuff on the site over the next few days. This is Josh Bowe. Talk to you guys later.